to there. So, you know, well, St. Thomas, Puerto Rico, you know.
No, I love it.
Crucian Rum, you know, St. Croix. And, so I was 6'3" already. And so I started playing sports because I moved to Florida and they went, okay, you're going to play basketball and volleyball. And then I ended up getting a scholarship to play at Florida State, which was kind of random, not in the cards at all.
Can't teach height.
That's what my coach said.
And how good were you at basketball?
I was better in basketball because I had a really good coach. And I went to BC camps. I had like 32 offers for basketball. I had like 6 for volleyball. But after I went to BC camp, you know, those blue chip camps for the Southeast region, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, all these states, I thought, 4 years, I'm going to have a net between me and these girls because they were so tough. And they were like, you're going to have to put on 20 pounds and, you know.
And boxing out.
Oh,
like
it was
Tamika
like.
from LSU.
Listen.
Like, hey, that was a foul, girl.
No, the girls.
You better watch them elbows.
No, they're just like this. No. They just look at you and they just go, what's up? And that's like a hello salutation. And that girl's on your own team.
What's up? Yo, you better pass that rock.
What's up? You know, so
Yo, I was open, girl.
So they were like, they were knee pads. They were wearing knee pads.
Not in basketball. I'm talking about the basketball huddle. Like, yo, I was open, girl.
No, I'm
you
telling
throw that ball when I'm down in the blocks.
That's just Tracy Morgan playing a female basketball player.
We used to have a game on the show, take a shot every time someone does a black voice, and we realized people would be dying of alcohol poisoning.
Oh, geez.
So you were good at basketball?
I had a really coach. I had a coach, of course. And I had a coach named Dean Souls, and he was really a great coach, and he taught me how to play ball.
Were you, did you face the basket, hit the shots, or were you back to the basket, grind it out?
I was more of a turn and face the basket kind of girl.
You were facing the basket?
Yeah.
Like Hakeem, not back to the basket like Shaq?
No, I'm not a Shacker. I didn't have that, you know, box you out booty into next week. So I had to turn around, spin around, and.
Laird's got the box him out booty.
He does. I've seen Laird play basketball.
Good?
He is. And he has you have a lot of heart.
Yeah,
I watched him.
John,
I watched him
I'm like
play.
the Rodman. I'm like the white Rodman, you know.
That's the sweetest.
The kind that just run you down from like the half court.
What better way to say my husband's awful at basketball than to go, he has a lot of heart.
Yeah.
You give him a participatory
No, that's not true,
trophy.
though. We have a good friend, Joe Kim Noah, and he was visiting us in Kauai when the strike was happening, and then he found out the strike wasn't happening. And, so he's like, yo, I got to get in a gym, you know. And, so our
son of, Yannick Noah,
correct.
Wimbledon champion once.
Yes. And
now actually the biggest star in France.
Yeah.
Singer.
Recording star. Yannick
Really?
Noah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
He was like a super hot guy. He was like the first, like the forbidden, like the African.
Yeah.
The black man from France.
Now he
came over,
fills
stadiums
and sings in French and.
No, he does for real.
Yeah.
He's like, it's crazy.
Bigger than he ever was.
No, as a tennis player, he really is. It's like Yuki says, it's just. He's like, yo, it's crazy. But so anyway,
I was playing barefoot anyway.
We watched Laird.
And I drilled it from half court.
Have to play with Yuki and a couple other guys the entire time. And Joe Kim's like, yo, he's the only one who was running up and down the court every time.
Barefoot.
Barefoot.
You wonder why your ankles are swollen.
Oh.
They were swollen first.
Well, that's one foot's been.
So you got drafted.
So then I came out. I was working because I was, you know, had to provide for myself. So I started modeling right after my first year of college. I gave up my scholarship. I paid for my school.
Real quick, how does that happen? Like you're at Florida State. How does someone find you to model and what?
They found me actually earlier, but I just wasn't going to do it because I had a sure thing and a scholarship.
Right.
So I went to college at 17, played ball for a year. That summer I went to New York, started working pretty quickly because that was in the day like the girls were much bigger, taller. Like if I was 18 today, there's no way. They'd be like, no, you can't fit into anything. So I started working and making a decent living. So I gave up my scholarship and I was on scholarship after my sophomore year and then gave it up and paid to play at my school. And then I moved out to California after I finished playing ball at Florida State and picked up the beach game. I didn't start playing beach volleyball till after college. And then they found out I was available to draft, and it was a good game. And so I was drafted. Like the league. They started.
Like that's the thing.
Well, the league doesn't exist anymore.
Well, what was it?
It was the ABVL, and it doesn't exist. And there was a men's and a women's, and we played at the same time, and we toured around the country.
With Karch?
No, Karch was playing two-man.
That's the only name I know.
That was pretty good. Karch is the assistant coach now for the women's indoor team, and they're hammering everybody. They're doing amazing. But no, we have more like Olympic players, so because it translated really well from indoor. So we had all the Olympic guys and girls playing on our tour.
On a beach tour. And it
on
would
a
be
beach,
on
4-on-4.
I remember like when I was in my teens and 20s.
Yeah.
Every once in a while it'd be a big Paul Mitchell sign.
Exactly. Well, that was the first team that ever drafted me, actually.
Paul Mitchell?
Totally.
And I like when it'd be in the middle of the country, like you guys being in Kansas City, and they would take like a beach pit.
Oh, yeah. underneath like train tracks in St. Louis by Anheuser-Busch because Budweiser is a huge sponsor, and we'd be in there like with the sands and everything. It was full on. It was fun though.
Whose idea was it to put all of you guys in the skimpiest bikinis in the world, therefore really
I don't know.
saving the sport?
I don't know. Probably a bunch of boys, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
It was also, too, that's what they played in, too.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
That's also, too, that's their apparel. It's like surfers and surf shorts. I mean,
You're right. You go down to Newport Beach and you see moms pushing like twins in a stroller, and then they just take their clothes off and then like these itty bitty bikinis, and they start spiking the ball, and you're like, oh my god.
Exactly. So that's part of the apparel. It's a little bit like swimsuits or something. That was part of the
That's
apparel.
true.
I think they should make the guys wear Speedos.
You know who
hammocks.
used to say that? Randy Stokely. He's like, because the men, he's like, we have very good physiques. We should be in it. We should wear our Speedos. And we're like, no, Randy.
Not even women think Speedos are good looking.
No, they don't.
Only French Canadian men.
It's all about
Hello,
less.
I'm Pierre. These are my nuts.
Yeah.
In a sack.
We had a guy training at our house the other day with a Speedo on because really to body surf or do things in water, it is more hydrodynamic, correct, Laird? Mm-hmm. And my 4-year-old went up to him and straight away, and she was like, why are you wearing that bathing suit? Like, I mean, she went right for it, yeah.
But it also gives you a vulnerability, too.
That's important.
Like, what do you mean?
Being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Well, because you can just see
when you have
everything.
Speedos on, when you're surfing with Speedos, you feel vulnerable.
You do?
You don't have the protection. Yeah, it's nice having a little bit of
You
protection.
act like wearing board shorts, like wearing a cup and like armor. It's the same.
It's a little
thing.
more protection than because you got
Not
leg
really.
protection and if you're straddling the board and stuff, absolutely.
So if the board hits you in the nut, it's way better to have a different pair of shorts on. That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard, Laird.
ball sack.
Well, no, but sitting on the
Your
board
handbag?
like that and
Yeah.
stuff.
We're sitting on the board and the chafing on the inside of your leg. Believe me,
That
it's
makes
better.
sense.
Yeah.
And if you bounce off the bottom, it's helpful.
Laird has your new company. Laird is Laird Stand Up. That you're selling longboards now. Is this your own thing?
Stand-up paddle equipment, stand-up paddle boards and paddles, and
Is that
a
its
whole
own
line
website?
a whole line of.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Like 6 weeks, maybe.
But your guys' website together is, well, you have 3 websites, GabbyandLaird.com.
GabbyandLaird.com has all, like, we give away tons, I don't know how many hundreds of workouts. Everything's for free. We give tons
We like giving things out
for free.
for
It's all
free
for
to the Mohr
free.
Stories listeners, the morons, the Mooriers, the Marines, the Mormons.
Wait, how did you get started in this?
In this?
Yeah.
A lot of comics were doing podcasts and they started playing to bigger rooms.
Right?
So I went, you know what? I would like to do a podcast. The only thing I'm really good at is talking forever. So a podcast is perfect because I'll never run out of content. And then once I started doing the podcast, I realized I listened to other podcasts and guys would be reading like commercials. And I went, oh my God, like you can make coin doing this a little bit.
Right.
I mean, you're not gonna be
you can subsidize your...
And then, so when I wasn't doing, basically, Gabby, I've been, my whole life, I'll give myself credit, I've been kind of an expert at ancillary income.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when Gary O'Mara gets canceled,
Yeah.
you're not making movies, you're not doing Street Kings and Jerry Maguires and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, then what? Like, will someone pay me to write a book? Because I'll write a book. Do you know how to write a book? No, but I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll fake it.
Yeah.
I'll act like I'm writing a book. So this was one of the things on the table where I could do my own radio show. It's like an hour a week, an hour and a half a week, twice a week. And I get my friends on to talk about comedy, and you guys can talk about, big wave riding and playing volleyball, not in the Olympics. And the charities.
Raising children.
Raising children. So that was
Raising
the thing
adults.
too. And,
And if you, let's say you have a week where you can't get anybody, do you just do like commentary on what's going on in the world?
I don't want to do commentary ones. They have to be sort of evergreen because a lot of people pick it up. Like there's people that'll start listening now.
Yep.
If I do one about like, hey, who saw the Kardashians last night? I tell you, that Scott Disick's a character. You got to keep it. So I'll do like, if I do one
Do
by
you see
myself.
how intimate he is with that material?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was intimacy?
With the fact that you know the full
why?
name of the
It's 'cause I'm
guy.
wearing Speedos. There's an intimacy there.
Scott
See what I
Disick,
did
like
there,
he
Laird?
knows
I
the
saw that.
husband.
Okay.
Or it's not even the husband, it's still the boyfriend who just makes babies with the one Kardashian, right? I don't even know their names.
I've never
Nice.
watched 1 second
Nice.
of the
Yeah,
Kardashians.
right.
No, I swear to God.
Uh-huh.
Why would I lie to you now?
How'd you get the name?
Because we have every magazine that
Oh.
gets printed, we read them
You do?
incessantly for the news.
Oh, yeah, for the good. Yeah, so you have current events.
You got to keep up. My wife reads all of them, and I'm
She
like,
does?
for someone that's been in them with the worst lies written about you.
Why would you look at them?
she
Makes you
said-
feel better, right?
She goes, visual accident. It's complete, mindless. I like
kinda
when they
true.
go normal, not normal. They have all those columns.
yeah.
So yeah,
It's a little bit like a treadmill.
Yeah. true.
Yeah. It's
You
basically
just run along and you don't go anywhere, but somehow you feel like you did something.
you read. Yeah, so I've done episodes by myself. Like I talked about auditioning for Jerry Maguire. That was just me alone. I talked about there has been like 3 episodes where I went in alone and just
Babbled.
something very not babble to a degree, but there's something very linear I can follow, and that people go like, "How do you get on Saturday Night Live?"
Yeah.
So I just talk that process through.
Like I read your book, and what I want to know is like when you do it by yourself, do you do it where it's almost like if you're going to do stand up where you're prepared and you kind of have you're following along and doing it? Do you sort of when you're doing this by yourself, do you do it that same way?
Well, it's different than stand-up because it's so specific. Like if I'm talking about auditioning for Jerry Maguire and meeting Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
I have to talk about when I got the script, how I got the call, what I auditioned, because I went in originally to audition for the quarterback that Jerry O'Connell played, and I just butchered a Texas accent for some reason. My mother's from Odessa, Texas, and that whole side of the family's West Texas, so I heard it my whole life, and I went in, I was like, "Hey everybody, come on, crambone," like I just blew it. And then they were like, "Hey, thanks for coming in." I was like, "How did I blow that?" And then, but I don't know, they asked me to come back to read for The Nanny, the nanny that hands Tom Cruise a tape of John Coltrane and Miles Davis. And then I had like 3 callbacks for that. And then Cameron Crowe said to me, "This is the easiest thing for me to cut out. And when you say it, I don't want to cut it. So just keep doing it the way you're doing it. And then we will, take it from there." And then I auditioned like maybe 3 times for The Nanny.
Yeah.
And then it was Richard Sakai, Jim Brooks, Richard Sakai, and Cameron Crowe, Gail Levin. They were all, everyone that needed to be there was there. And then I think it was James Brooks that goes, "But what about Sugar?" And just the hair on my neck stood up like, oh, because I had read the script. And I was like, oh my God. Like, if there's one part you want to play, it's that one. And I asked them, I said, could I take more time? I don't want to go read it and come back.
Pack it up, yeah.
Like, if you can give me a couple days. And they go, it was like Thursday. I go, can I come back tomorrow? And they go, you want to just come back next week? And I go, yes. And they go, what day is good for you? And I went, Thursday. Like, I gave myself 7 days. And they were like, sure. And I just came in and I just did it.
Hammered it down.
I was undeniable, man. So, yeah. So that's how that goes. So, but when I do the stories by myself, stand up, I'm doing stuff about my family and it flows and I kind of make a lot. I make a lot of it up as I go. And I know I'm going to close with Walken, Norm Macdonald, Tracy Morgan.
Right.
So I get to have fun for like the first 30 minutes and goof off and do new stuff. But I don't know if that would work if I did it by myself and just rambled. We could try.
Do you say things about your family that's not true? Just to get a laugh?
I'll embellish.
Don't ever let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Well,
There you
I know.
go, Will Rogers.
I'm just
I'll embellish.
Well, yeah, of course. But I mean, you don't just straight up like. Now,
I mean, it's impossible for me to write a scenario that just never happened.
Do people get sore at you?
No. Why? How would they? I like these questions.
No, I mean, like your family members.
Oh, no. It's all, because it's all with 2 boys
It's out on the
and a wife, it's like, if you think like
Nothing's sacred.
A lot of stuff's sacred.
No, but you know what I mean? Like they're used to.
Nothing's really bad. It's all comes from a place of, it's all truth-based. And if there's really like warts, if someone in the family's like an addict, I'm not going to air them out on stage and tell them their names and stuff.
Right.
But
you just say, I got this uncle and da-da-da-da-da.
Or I would turn it into an ambiguous, like, these people, like I'll just get the audience on my side and we'll talk about someone outside of this make-believe person that I've created.
Yeah.
Like, you ever see these addicts on TV? Like, I'll talk about intervention and just talk about those addicts without ever bringing it back to my family or your family or his family or his family.
Got it.
But I'll talk about, like, my son, one of my boys is a quarter gay.
Right.
And if you don't think your kid's a quarter gay, trust, if you have a boy between the age of 1 and 9, he's on the waiting list. And if you've ever had a sleepover with 5 5-year-olds, that is the gayest shit that will ever happen in your house. You hear them in the tent, like, and just waking you up with gay problems, like, Jesse peed on us. And you're like, what? This is gayer than if we were watching, like, the Andy Cohen Bravo Clubhouse, Watch What Happens Live, covered in glitter. Like, so I'll say stuff like that on stage. So, that's sort of really happened. But you never in the Olympics, and I'm glad we did extensive research.
Okay.
And I'm glad we're such good friends that you can just correct me straight out. What's the most money you don't have to give me a figure if you're embarrassed about, but
Okay.
was most of the money from sponsorships?
Yeah, I know. I made the joke with my accountant would always be that if I broke even playing ball, because I like if I had my team and I would take them to dinner and I'd put them in different hotels because if I was the captain, so I would like do that kind of stuff. So I was fortunate enough. I had a very good relationship with Nike and a few other companies, and that was really the way I made my living.
Tracy Hardy Gray still over there at Nike?
She is actually.
She's
She's
best.
lovely.
I knew she was. I just wanted to give her